Hey, what's going on guys? Frosty here, and in today's one I wanted to cover my Titan Arc Grenade build because there's still a lot of people who have a lot of confusion about what to actually run with this build to get the most out of it. As you all know, it's a pretty popular build, especially for GMs this season, with Arc Grenades for Titans being absolutely cracked. So in this video, I'm going to show you guys exactly what I run to get the most out of it. First up, for the super, I'm using Thunder Crash. You can use whatever you want here, it's totally optional. I just like this one for a good backup DPS option. First up, for the class ability here, I'm running Thrust, and I would highly recommend using this one. It has a much quicker cooldown time over the barricades, and also it's a pretty effective movement ability. And I'll explain why I recommend Thruster over the barricade options in just a little bit. Next up, for the jump ability, I like to use Catapult Lift, but feel free to use whatever you want here, it doesn't matter. For the melee ability, I like to use Seismic Strike because it's the only one by default that actually can blind enemies, and it's also really good because it allows me to keep my mobility up pretty much at all times. I've really never been a big fan of Ballistic Slam, I find it really annoying to use, and as far as Thunderclap goes, I really don't like it because it makes you stand in one place for too long, which doesn't synergize with this build well. Personally, to me, because they all have the same cooldown time, and also Seismic Strike allows you to W key like a real Titan and also has a built-in blind option, I just feel like it's the way to go. And as many of you already probably know, you want to be using Storm Grenades. They're the most broken one out of all of them, and definitely the one you want to go with here. And you want to go ahead and pair that up with the Touch of Thunder aspect that will allow your Storm Grenades to roam around and track towards enemies, which is extremely broken. And we're also using Knockout here, which I highly recommend. This is a really easy way to get amplified, and the biggest reason is that it gives us 2 fragment slots, unlike Juggernaut, which only gives us 1. And also this is really handy because now we can actually create elemental wells even with an uncharged melee ability with Knockout, and it's pretty good overall, so definitely a must-have here. Moving into the fragments now, first up we're running Spark of Feedback, so when we take melee damage we do more outgoing melee damage, which pairs really good with Knockout. And also we get 10 resilience for that. I'm also running Spark of Volt, so finishers can make me amplify, but I primarily use this for the 10 recovery, which is really good to hit additional stats. Next up, we're using Spark of Magnitude, so this basically increases the duration of these storm grenades, making them last about 7 to 8 seconds, which is really insane for a grenade if you think about it. And lastly, we're using Spark of Shock, which allows your grenades to jolt targets, which is extremely important, and you definitely don't want to miss out on this one. It has a 10 discipline stat penalty, but it's definitely worth it. It allows your grenades to become S tier at ad clearing. So that's pretty much everything you can do in the subclass to juice up these storm grenades. You give them the capability to roam around and track towards targets. You give them extended duration and also the capability to jolt, which you definitely don't want to miss that one. So honestly, you could just go ahead and use the subclass and it will feel really good on its own. It's pretty much doing all the hard work for you. But now we're going to get into the armor and the mods to make it feel even better. Starting off with the weapons, I like to use Witherhoard, and I'll explain why in a little bit. And for the energy weapon, I would recommend trying out the Brigand's Law Sidearm. It's just a really good Arc 3.0 weapon. It's actually really good and has some nice perks, including one of the new ones called Volt Shot. This perk allows you to jolt targets, making it feel basically like a Trinity Ghoul with Lightning Rod procced. And also, if you don't want to run this, you can try Enhanced Demolitionist to supplement your grenade cooldown. Moving over to the armor mods now, on the helmet, I'm running GL Ammo Finder, Sidearm Targeting, and Bountiful Wells. So if you don't know, Bountiful Wells allows you to create multiple copies of a well from whatever source can actually create them. On the gauntlets, I'm running Sidearm Loader, Fastball, and Melee Wellmaker. This is really important. It allows our Seismic Strike as well as our base melee while we're amplified to create elemental wells. And also Fastball makes throwing storm grenades much better. For the chest piece and exotic of choice, I would highly recommend Heart of Inmost Light. If you don't have one, I would try out Armamentarium if you have that one. However, I would definitely work towards getting one of these. This exotic gives you a perk called Overflowing Light, which says using an ability such as a grenade, melee, or barricade empowers the other 2 abilities. Empowered means abilities have faster regen, melees and grenades do more damage, and barricades have more hit points. For the mods on this, I'm running Thermoshock Plating, Concussive Dampener, and Elemental Ordnance, so now our storm grenades can create elemental wells. On the boots, I'm running Absolution and Innervation to reduce our cooldown on all our abilities, especially our grenade with Innervation, and also Explosive Wellmaker, and I'll explain why in a minute. And lastly, on the class item, I'm running the Lightning Strikes Twice artifact mod. It says after throwing an arc grenade, gain increased grenade recharge rate for a short time. Arc Final Blows extend the duration of this benefit. And we're also running Well of Ordnance, so picking up Solar Elemental Wells gives us more grenade energy back. This is why we run Explosive Wellmaker. So the really cool thing is we can create tons of elemental wells from our Seismic Strike and our grenade from just using the ability one time. For example, if you throw a grenade and kill an enemy with Elemental Ordnance on, it will create a single well matching your subclass type. If you're also running Bountiful Wells, it will create 2 copies of that mod matching your subclass type. Also, if we go ahead and run Explosive Well Maker, this actually applies to the grenade as well as the AoE effect of Seismic Strike. So if you go ahead and throw a Storm Grenade while you have Bountiful Wells, Explosive Well Maker, and Elemental Ordnance on your armor, you'll create 2 Arc Wells and 2 Solar Wells, so long as the grenade actually kills multiple targets. So the other really cool thing is because of how long Storm Grenades last, they can actually create up to 8 Elemental Wells from a single use, which is absolutely insane with this setup. Basically, if you throw it, it gets a kill and then it roams around for a while and gets another set of kills. It can actually create up to 8 Elemental Wells from a single grenade. So to sum up how you play this build is you basically want to be ability spamming at all times. If you notice you have an ability up, just go ahead and use it even if you don't need to. You always want to be empowering your other abilities to keep the cycle going. And on top of that, you also want to be running around and picking up as many Elemental Wells that you spawn in as possible to reduce all your ability cooldowns. And to recap this build, I would highly recommend trying to hit 100 Resilience, Recovery, and Discipline with this meta. This is the best stats for this build, and it's going to make it feel even better the more you put into it. Anyways, that's going to be a wrap on this video. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you enjoyed it or found it informative, a like on it would be greatly appreciated, and also subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this in the future. Anyways, I'll catch you guys all in the next one. Until then, stay frosty.